Hi everyone, my name is Jen and welcome to the Book Refuge and welcome to another one of my 2021 favorites videos. This one is going to be sponsored by my channel members, which is my Romantic Renegades and above. Every month, which I didn't do so great in the month of November, but I did for this month, I put up a poll asking them which video they would like to sponsor, and of course they picked my spiciest reads of 2021, or steamiest is what the title will say because it can't say like spicy or sexy in your title. So couple things to premise before I get into this list, because I did keep this one kind of to 10 and I tried to cover like most of the subgenres that I read. You know, I tried to pick some throughout it, but also a lot of the books that are on my favorites of the year are some of the steamiest, and I really only picked like one or two from that list to put in this one, because one of the things that makes a book a favorite of mine is how like steamy or spicy it is. And now I don't just mean by the number of sex scenes that will be in a book, but either the emotional connection that's part of it, the chemistry between the characters, or, you know, if there are some kinkier elements, which we'll talk about those ones when we get there. So this is just a mix of things. This isn't, you know, decided with the same level of accuracy that I will do for my end of the year favorites. But, you know, I just went through and I was like, which of these books do I feel like are the steamiest ones for me, or the ones that really just, you know, had my blood going. Okay, so we're going to kind of go through, I'm going to start with historical and we'll work through that. So we'll start with, actually, I have three historicals that I wanted to put on this list, okay? So the first one is going to be Dangerous by Minerva Spencer. This one is one of my 6-star reads. And, oh, this book just surprised me so much. So I've read some very spicy stuff by Minerva Spencer. She actually writes historical erotica, as well as, you know, more like traditionally published as well. But even her traditionally published stuff is pretty spicy. So I'd actually read a trilogy of hers that was about the children of this trilogy. So this trilogy is called The Outcasts, and then there is a trilogy of hers that is called the Rebels of the Ton, and it's about the children of these. So this book is about Lady Mia Marlington, and she was actually held captive by a sultan in, where was it? I actually don't know. But she was in a harem, held captive, and she recently has escaped because that sultan was killed, and one of his sons, well, two of his sons, one of whom is actually her son with him, that she had with him when she was 15 years old, because she was taken captive when she was 14 and on her way to like finishing school, and her maid was brutally raped and killed in front of her, and she was taken by the pirates who captured her to be a gift for the sultan, because she's very unique looking for him because of her like red hair and pale skin and like freckles. He wasn't used to those kind of women, so she was a gift to him. But then she recently escaped and is back in England, and her father is actually kind of ashamed to have her, because obviously he knows that she's not a virgin, and she, you know, to try to get her married off now that she's like 33 and is very just different in how she does things. I mean, she was basically kept naked for 16 years, and she has had all these power dynamics between the women in the harem that she had to deal with, and she just does not have time for the shit of the London ton. And she actually wants to get back to where she had been held captive, because again, her son, Jibril, is there in a power struggle, and she wants to be with him because she's like, being back in England is not what I'd hoped it would be. But her father's trying to marry her off. So her father is kind of desperate. So he actually asks Adam de Courtenay, who's called the Murdering Marquess, because two of his wives have died under mysterious circumstances, and he is kind of a, you know, a black sheep, an outcast in society, hence The Outcast being the name of the series. And he gets invited to a ball where they're trying to find a husband for her, and they're both extremely attracted to each other right away. She thinks that she'll be able to like manipulate him into, you know, she wants to use his resources to basically get back to her son, but she keeps that a secret. She is honest to him about everything else though, and they agree to a marriage of convenience. The only thing is, they are very sexually attracted to each other, and their marriage of convenience quickly turns into, I mean, it's convenient, but it's very steamy, and I love it so much. again, she does not have the same limitations or things standing in her way in the bedroom. She actually has a belly button ring. And I mean, it was forced on her, but she really likes it, and Adam really likes it. And so she is just so willing to, like, she's ferocious in the bedroom, voracious, and he doesn't know what to make of that. Like, it honestly scares him a little bit because he doesn't want to have so much feelings for his wife because he's been hurt before. And she's a very sexual woman, and he has particular reasons why that makes him nervous. Not just because he's like, oh, I don't want my woman to be too sexual. No, the dude's got some baggage, and he has a good reason. But this book is so sexy. I love it so much. And actually, both Dangerous and Scandalous are books that I absolutely adored in this series. So, I highly recommend. Then we have A Lady of Rooksgrave Manor. Come on, this is a historical, like, paranormal, basically, and it's also the only reverse harem that I absolutely adore, okay? And I've tried quite a few this year. They are just not my drive. Most of the issue is so many reverse harems are either, like, mafia, high school, or they're Omegaverse, and I don't like Omegaverse, okay? I'm sorry, I don't love it. But this is something I do love, and something that is very steamy and romantic. And this is about, our heroine's name is, totally forgotten it. Why don't you tell me? Esther. And she is a very sexual woman. And she has an encounter with a doctor who actually he's basically like a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. And he kind of catches her in a compromising position and actually says, you know, why don't you check out this estate called Rooksgrave Manor, where women are basically prostitutes for monsters, only you get to choose who you're sleeping with and kind of build your clientele. And she goes to meet the woman who runs it, who's a witch actually. She has the protections and, like, keeps everyone safe, and introduce her to this world. And it's amazing. And I love her harem of men. There is some that happens in here, but in her harem she has a sphinx, a vampire, an invisible man, a golem, and you know, our Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. And I love it so much. I love it so much. It's so sexy. And then the other one I want to mention, this was hard to pick one because really this author, all of her books were very steamy and I loved it, but I did want to share my favorite from this series. What was that? Oh, that's FedEx. Okay. Which is The Taming of the Highlander by Elisa Braden. This was actually given to me by my friend, Tara, so thank you so much. But this is actually book 2 in the Midnight in Scotland, but it's a spin-off from her Rescued and Ruined series. Book 3 is actually coming out the end of December, and I can't wait. But this is actually about, I believe this is Cate, and she is kind of this romantic, she's like a playwright or an author. And then we have our hero Broderick McPherson, who spent some time in prison, and he actually got this like horrible scar, and he's horribly mistreated there, and he's just this grouch living in the woods basically now, this wounded hero. And our heroine is staying with her brother and sister-in-law, and her sister-in-law is his sister, and she ends up coming across him beating the living shit out of somebody. And that fell out of it. To keep him from being arrested, she says that they are engaged so that she can't say anything against him. And they end up having a marriage of convenience to continue along this like lie basically. And Broderick plans to keep this a marriage in name only, but he's up against Cate, and Cate really wants to do it with Broderick. She really wants to do it with Broderick and all of his manliness. She just wants it. And I love it. I love when heroines want it. I'm telling you, I want them to want it. Let's do it. I love it so much. Okay. Then I have a kind of quote unquote regular contemporary to talk about. I wouldn't call this one overly dark by any means. And that is Twisted Games by Anna Huang. I do have the discreet covers. I adore the regular covers, but this was actually at my Barnes & Noble, so I was like, I'll take the discreet cover, thank you very much. So this is book 2 in the Twisted series, and this one is about Bridget von Ashburg, who's a princess. She is second in line to the throne behind her brother, but that might not last for very long. And then our hero, his name is Reese, and he is her bodyguard, who is recently assigned to her because her current bodyguard is, I think he's going on paternity leave. I think that's what's happening. And she needs someone to be her bodyguard. And he's definitely very like, I am your bodyguard. You will do what I say to keep you safe type of thing. And that doesn't last too long for him. Wow, people are having tough driving out there. This has some amazingly sexy scenes. This book, even Anna herself, when I read it, it made me think of Princess Diaries 2. It made me think of that like a lot. Just some of the situations that the heroine finds herself in, but it's mixed with some really, really sexy times. So I love this. Scenes in this are so steamy. It's very like, I'm a powerful woman who's in charge, but in the bedroom, like, you're the boss type of stuff. I love it. Mixed with the forbidden aspect of a royal romance. Gotta love it. Then I have another paranormal to mention. This one is Feral Sins by Suzanne, Wright. I made my way through the entire Phoenix Pack series this year, but the first one really did hit me the hardest of all of them, especially like, I love finding a paranormal series that is this sexy. Oh my gosh, Suzanne Wright, she makes sexy books, okay? So we have this wolf shifter named Taryn, and she's actually like a latent wolf. So she is a wolf. She's an alpha female. She has all those urges, but her wolf never like comes out. So she's considered to be weak. And then we have our hero Trey Coleman, who has a very small pack, and he's a very dangerous and powerful alpha, even though his pack is very small. They end up kind of doing a fake mate situation, because in this world, like, you have this mating connection and it supersedes everything else. Her father is trying to force her into a marriage, into an alliance with another pack. And the only thing that could supersede that would be if she found her fated mate, because that overrules anything else that's trying to happen. And so they decide to run into each other at a club and have their mating bond snap into place. And then their wolves start telling them that, I don't think you should be fake mating with this person. I would like to actually mate with him. So then the sexy times begin. I freaking love these. All of these books are read and listen on KU, and that means if you get the book from Kindle Unlimited, you get the free, like, the audiobook comes with it. So that's how I listen to all of these books, and I just loved it. These are also they're with Montlake, which is part of the reason, because like most of Amazon's books are read and listen. All right, then we have, I did want to mention Claire Kingsley as well, specifically. I forgot which one it is because I didn't write this one down, but I read this book with Smart Women Reads Romance. They did this book for one of their Patreon reviews, and I ended up doing it with Justin because Juliet was gone. And so then I read like all of Claire Kingsley's books in that series, the Bailey brothers, and I love this. The one I'm specifically thinking of is about, I think it's the second oldest brother, and he's a mechanic, and this girl with all this car knowledge comes to his shop and like needs to use his space to like change a part in her car, and for the privilege of using his equipment, she offers to help him get a vehicle that he really wants to own, that he wants to remodel. And Claire Kingsley writes some sexy smut in her contemporaries, and it brings me so much joy because I wish more contemporary authors would go there, wouldn't shy away from butt stuff, wouldn't shy away from getting down and dirty, because not enough of them do. A lot of them have a line where they're like, oh, this is dark romance if we include anything like that, and I'm like, a little bit of hair pulling and a spank now and then do not a dark romance make, okay? Just saying. I also have Burn For Me by Sara Cate. This is a dark kind of bully romance. I'll explain in a second. This is an older woman. This is a teacher student. Our heroine is I believe in her early 30s. I think she's 32, and her hero is 18. And she is a journalism professor at this college where he is now going. When he enters the first day of class, they're both pretty uncomfortable because she happens to have been a journalist who uncovered that his father was working with some criminals. And so his father was actually put in prison because of her, and then his mother actually committed suicide not too long after because she couldn't live without her husband, leaving him to live with his uncle, who was a horrendous man. So when he sees this woman just up there teaching class, like no big deal, he decides he wants to make her life hell and that he wants to torture her. And a couple things that make this work for me. Number one, this is dirty and sexy, and I love it. But also, our heroine feels a little bit guilty, right? Because though she doesn't regret the reporting that she did, she does regret that he was part of the fallout from this. And so she pretty much lets him do most of what he wants to do to her, including spying on her, stalking her, getting her to pick him up and take him places, and eventually to fuck her. And she doesn't really protest too much. So we would call this one dubious consent. And in some cases, straight up consensual non-consent, because she definitely could have this kid in trouble and she chooses not to. So that's kind of where I consider that like consensual non-consent, because she could get out of it, if that makes sense. Yeah. This book was hot. This was hot. So yeah. Then let's see, what else do I have? Oh, Her Soul for Revenge by Harley Leroux. This was book 2 in her Souls trilogy, and this book, like, it upped its game so much. I thought the first one was very sexy and delightful. This is a paranormal. I described the first one as kind of like Buffy but really sexy. And our heroine, though, she is, well, in the first one was that. In this one, our heroine survived a sacrifice attempt. Like, she was going to be a sacrifice for this cult, and she survived. And now she's been on the run because her soul is like owed to the demon, to the god that she was sacrificed to. And so these demons are all trying to get her. And there's one demon, Zane, who wants her for his own. So he tells all the other demons, like, nobody's allowed to make a deal with this girl except for me. And then he tells her, when you're ready to make a deal and get revenge on the people who did this to you, you come to me. I'm the only one who's going to buy your soul from you, and then I will get you your revenge. And they have amazing sexual chemistry together, and some of the sex scenes in this. Like, for these demons, when they, like, have their partner, they like do body modification as like an owning symbol. And in the first one, it was like, I believe he did he pierce her nipples or pierce her clit? I think he pierced her nipples. And like in this one, she gets something pierced too, and it's so hot. It's so great. Absolutely love it. Then we have the Sinner's Duet by Sophie Lark. This is one of the cases of like, I don't think these books are like the sexiest books I've read this year, but I do think that the emotional, deep connection and the way that like Mara is just able to let go, and the way that Cole is able to take her to the edge of like her sanity with some of their sexual encounters, like the chemistry is insane. In case you haven't heard by now, The Sinner's Duet by Sophie Lark is about a serial killer and his rival. They're both serial killers. They're also both artists. And our heroine, Mara, who is also an aspiring artist, things are going a little bit tougher for her. She has had a very dark background, a very tough life. She's had an uphill battle. And then these two serial killers, too, just start fucking with her. Specifically one of them. And the way that she responds to that, and the way that she just refuses to break, is very intriguing to Cole, and he ends up doing a little bit of stalking and maybe wanted to take her under his wing, and maybe he'll kill her, maybe he'll fuck her, we're not sure, but it's amazing. Then I have Deviant Hacker by Maggie Cole. We are into our mafia. This book actually just came out. Now, all the books in this series are extremely steamy, but this one particularly is some daddy kink going on. And we have Daddy Declan, who I believe is in his 40s. And this one actually has the youngest heroine in this series. Like most heroines in Maggie's books are actually like over 30, which I love. But this one is our heroine, I believe, is a college student. And she's been taking these hacking jobs kind of like a la carte to like earn money. Well, these jobs she's being given are actually fucking with the O'Malleys and this huge plan that they have in place to take down this really evil motherfucker that we've met in earlier books. And so they need to stop this hacker. And so he goes to kidnap her, and he kidnaps her and locks her in his basement, and then realizes that she's not the right person. But it's too late, and now he wants to be her daddy. And yeah, I can't say anything else. I fucking love this book so much. It's so good. Maggie Cole's amazing. And I can't wait to reread this one. I don't have time right now, but like, she writes some good daddy kink. I'm just saying. And then the last one I want to talk about, and this is also a 6-star book for me, but I had to put it in this one because when we're talking about emotional sex and connection and being steamy as hell, this book has to be mentioned. And that's Carnal Urges by J.T. Geissinger. This book will probably be in my top 5 of the year. I'm not 100% sure yet, but I'm pretty sure that it's going to be there. This is book 2 in the Queens and Monsters series. This is also about a Declan. I do have a type. And he was charged with kidnapping Sloane, who is the best friend of the girlfriend of a rival mafia. And then once he's kidnapped her, he ends up being the head of his mafia, which is not what he was planning. And so now he has this woman that he didn't even mean to kidnap in the first place, and she's a pain in his arse, and he doesn't know what to do with her. And these two, like Sloane, she is tough as nails. She is a strong bitch. She does not let men fuck with her. She chews them up and spits them out. But Declan is not gonna let that happen. And the way that they spar with each other, she's able to wrap every other man around her finger. And I mean, she does wrap him around her finger in some senses, but he's just fascinated by her. Fascinated that she's not afraid of him. Fascinated that she just never quits. Her optimism is there. Her like passion for life is there. And it is hiding a lot of like broken things underneath it, you know? But once their relationship goes from this like captor-captive to romantic between them, which neither of them wants to happen, particularly Sloane does not want it to happen, and Declan just like can't stop himself. He's just falling head over heels for her, and he just wants her to feel it too. And when they have sex for the first time, which is sexy as hell, I cried because neither one of them has ever felt anything like this before. And it's so beautiful. Like, I love it. J.T. Geissinger knows how to do it, y'all. Knows how to do it. And the dirty talking, I'm just saying. So there you go. Those are going to be some of the steamiest books I've read this year. I mean, I've also made a few other videos this year about like spiciest scenes. I think I have one that's my favorite spicy scenes or whatever, so you can check that out. But yeah, thank you so much for watching this. I definitely have more end of the year content coming soon, so make sure you subscribe to the channel. We're, I think, about to hit 11,000. We might have by the time you see this, which is amazing. And thank you to my channel members. If you're interested in that, I do have a lot of different tiers that give you different access to me at different levels. So make sure you check out the join button down below for more info there. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.